Hello and welcome to another review here on the channel. We are checking out the 2023 Toyota RAV4 today. I'm doing things a little bit differently for this review, and so we're starting out on the driving portion of the review. I usually do that at the end of my videos, but we're starting out on the highway today in the 2023 Toyota RAV4. Now, some quick history here for you folks who are not familiar with the RAV4. It's one of Toyota's best-selling models. It's been around for more than 20 years, and I think over those 2 decades, it is like double the size it used to be, which is just incredible, because right now this thing is like the size of, I think, the old Highlander in the early 2000s. It was a very bland SUV made from simple A to B transportation with a little bit of cargo and utility built in. But we'll get to the interior here, what is new for 2023. We'll get to the engine bay. We'll get to the exterior too. I'll talk about all the fun features later on in this video, but let's talk driving out on the highway right now. So one of the first things I noticed about being in this RAV4 is it actually is a lot higher than I thought it was going to be. What I don't love is the positioning of this seat that I'm in. The driver's seat does not go back far enough for me. I'm just over 6 foot, so I do need a little bit more space than the average person, and I'm kind of wishing I had about an inch or two more to put this seat further back. But the seats are comfortable. There's just cloth in this vehicle, and also there's a lot of glass in this car. You've got 2 kind of panes on each door, small little triangles in the corner, and then of course obviously the big windshield. So there's great visibility. Let's talk feeling of things also, the touch points. Let's go to the center screen here. Beyond the fact that it is overly bezeled for no reason, besides that, I don't love the positioning of it because it is straight up and down, and no one's hand naturally reaches that way. You kind of need to sit to the center of the car and then look to get rid of any glare and actually hit exactly where you mean to hit. Otherwise, the car kind of jerks and you whack a different part of it. So I wish these screens, I wish car makers would all get together and just say, hey, let's tilt everything 5 degrees toward the driver. Kia does it. Saab used to do it all the time. Volvo does it. It should be facing the driver more often than not. So the positioning of this center screen is not my favorite. It's visible, I can see it. It's a little lower than my eyesight because I do sit a little bit higher. So I do think for most folks you might sit at a better angle and not need to worry as much as I am. But right now I'm fighting the sun in my eyes at this time of day and also trying to see this, because this blinds me when I try to look and everything else. I also want to talk about the steering wheel here. There's a lot of buttons on either side. You've got all your audio and entertainment options on one side, and then your kind of safety features and your cruise control and different modes on the other side. This car does have some great safety features kind of built in already. It's got steer assist with the lane keep assist. It also has the blind spot monitoring, which has been great and invaluable actually on this trip already. There was someone in my blind spot that I did not see because I'm not used to the windows in this car. There's also pre-collision warning. You can set the sensitivity to that as well. It's in this big menu here. So the safety features keep you nice and give you peace of mind out on the open road. Let's do some merging here and some passing as my phone falls over and out of the holder. That was crazy. So there is some little bit of get up and go, as you can see there by the phone falling over. It is a little bit noisy whenever you whack on the accelerator like that, but you can definitely tell this car is well built because it doesn't rattle. It doesn't sound like it's gasping for air. The power is there as soon as you put your foot down, and the car does move. The air is on level 1 right now, so there's not a ton of power needed to keep the AC on, so the car is responsive. You can tell there is some plastic in here. You can see the plastic right here. There is a lot of plastic in this vehicle, but it doesn't feel cheap. Toyotas are extremely well made, and even this one being a lower model, a lower base model, this actually does have some nice materials in it. There's not leather stitched, steering wheel or, side door panel inserts, but it doesn't feel like a bottom basement option or an afterthought or something like that. So cruising at highway speeds about 75 miles an hour, the interior here is quiet. I'm talking a little bit louder than I need to make sure that you all can hear me, but I would say the level of noise in here is not bad at all. Really, I could have a conversation very easily with anyone in the front seat and the rear seat if I had to. I touched on the screen not being my favorite positioning. I feel the opposite about the climate control system just beneath it. It actually is very easy to use. The buttons protrude out toward your hand, toward your open hand, and they're very easy to grab, very easy to maneuver and twist as you are driving. This is rather easy. Little soft notches for the climate control system. Everything else is very self-explanatory and very easy to see and read as you are driving along. You got to be able to see something right away, know what you want, and be able to push it. Not every car is like that, so nicely done. I will say that this car does not have the larger rims on it, and because of that, it actually has a nice cushiony, soft feel to it. When you go over bumps, they soak up very nicely. There's no loud road noise from the tires and the wheels. I'm gonna slow down before I get pulled over on camera. Here we are, we're good. And then another tunnel, here we go. All right, we are out of that tunnel, and one more complaint while we're talking about highway driving. I don't mind the digital aspect of, you know, the safety systems or the trip computer or how many miles per gallon you're getting. I don't mind that. What I do mind is the needle, which is digital, for the speedometer, because you can't intuitively and very quickly see how fast you're going. It gets lost in all of the other colors and all of the other white in the speedometer. I wish it was one big red needle or something to make sure I could tell instantly what speed I'm going. It takes too many seconds too long to figure out how fast you're going. I think actually Honda used to do that too with a physical small needle that kind of like hugged the outside of the rim of the speedometer setup. It just looks weird. I don't like it. I wish this was one big needle. And something I've noticed is that the fuel economy rating never really budges from 29 point something. I got up to 29.8, 29.7, but it stays at 29.6 no matter how fast, slow, uphill, downhill I drive. So I'm not sure if there's like a bug in the system, but I also had this happen to me. Oh, there it goes, 29.7. I also had this happen to me in a Toyota Corolla, a brand new Corolla that I rented a few months ago. So I'm not sure. If you have any idea what's going on here, if I have to reset it entirely each time I fill up, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. But I'm really kind of annoyed that like I'm not getting real-time MPG readings here. And since cars are getting smarter than ever before, sometimes the safety features and the built-in, I guess, different options will be a little too helpful. So it's very easy to turn off the front crash mitigation, the pre-collision system, and also the steer assist for the lane keep assist system. Those two buttons are right here on your steering wheel. You can easily turn them off. Well, now that we've seen what the thing can do on the highway and I've given you my thoughts, let's take this on some back roads and see what this thing does there. Thank you. All right, so off of the highway now, we are on some back roads here in suburban Pittsburgh, and the car is right at home. The twisty back roads I'm taking, it keeps up quite nicely. I will say around some corners, if you're going 15, 20 miles an hour, there is a little bit of body roll, which I'm noticing. This thing seems to be a little bit top heavy. Going up a rather steep incline with the air on, there is some hesitation with the engine here. This is a rather steep hill. I'm not sure if you can see. Yeah, rather steep hill. And I think the car hesitates a little bit more than it normally would if I didn't have the air on, but just wanted to point that out. There does seem to be some hesitation initially whenever I hit the gas going up some of these steeper hills. Another hill here, I'm going to hit the accelerator to hear how this engine sounds. A little cranky, a little noisy. So just be aware of that too if you buy one of these things. They're not the quietest accelerator in the world, not the quietest engine in the world, but you will have a well-built engine, no doubt. The warranty here is 3-year, 36,000 mile limited new car warranty, and then a 5-year, 60,000 mile powertrain warranty here on this Toyota RAV4. So lots of peace of mind for the duration of most people's ownership of a brand new vehicle. A lot of Toyotas just will never need that warranty because they're so well made. They stay, the car is reading a brake in the road as the line in the road, and just yelled at me and actually steered me away from the crack, which was nice, but again, not needed. Maybe overly sensitive. I'm gonna hit the brakes here kind of hard at this stop sign and see how they grip. Very nice, actually. I hit them harder than I anticipated, and they actually nearly locked my seatbelt. 4 rotors here on this RAV4. Great stopping power. All right, taking like a nearly complete 180 turn up a hill here to see how this thing does as far as turning. The turning radius is nice. The big wheel wells probably let these tires go wherever they want. Over some railroad tracks now. Smooth, not loud, no clunks. I don't hear any creaks or any door body panels rubbing together, anything like that. No noises, which is an absolute requirement for me. I cannot stand driving a car that has creaks and little noises and rattles everywhere. I will get rid of a brand new car if it does that. You can obviously upgrade to the various trim levels that cost more money. They start around $29,000 for the LE, go all the way up to like $34,000, $35,000 for the TRD off-road. There's XLE premium, there's limited, all sorts of trims in between there. This one is just the second tier, the second most optioned RAV4 you can get. Again, in front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, front-wheel drive being standard. Okay, so now that we've seen how the RAV4 drives, let's get to the exterior of this thing and talk about its looks. I think on first look, it's a handsome vehicle. It's very rugged and I think very at home and fits well with the other models in the Toyota brand. It has the styling cues of the 4Runner, the Tacoma, so it fits in nicely. I would say this thing is definitely more at home in the city, in the suburbs, than it is out on the open mountain trail or something like that. Now, there are 6 different trim levels and 10 distinct actual vehicles you can get between the front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive and the various trims. This one is the XLE, the base is the LE, all the way up to the TRD off-road. Now, even the TRD off-road is probably not going to give you the real off-road experience that the, better 4Runner or the other SUVs might be able to give you. But this thing, great for hauling people to and from school, to and from the store, to and from family gatherings, maybe an easy mountain highway or easy mountain trail, but it's also a great car for affordability and practicality and everyday utility. So let's start with the obvious. 17-inch wheels on this Toyota RAV4 XLE all-wheel drive. There is a little bit more gap right there in the wheel well between the wheel and the car than I particularly care for. I think the larger wheels look much better on this car, but again, this is the XLE trim, which is only the one step up. After this is the XLE Premium, all the way up to the TRD off-road. Let's go up front here and talk about these lights. You do have LED lights in the front, which is pretty standard on every car these days. A nice kind of mesh grille there. A lot of plastic here at the bottom. You can kind of see this one is obviously a little bit dirty. I drove this through the rain yesterday, but it did great though in the rain, I must say. No fog lights on this particular model. If this was a hybrid, by the way, most of you would know, this would all be blue and kind of accented in blue to give away that it's a hybrid. This one is not. Still gets good gas mileage though. You do have pads and rotors all the way around. No drum brakes on a car like this, thank goodness. This black trim feels and looks a little cheap. I wish it was a deeper black, a richer black, and it would go much nicer with all the different combinations of colors that this vehicle comes in. This is already a dark color, kind of this dark navy blue. I do wish this was a little more shiny, a little more popping than it is right now. It's a little dull. You do have the turn signals here integrated into the side mirrors, which is always a great option. Also the tap to open, tap to lock. The car right now is yelling at me because the keys are in the car, so apologies, car. Let's talk about the rear design though. I actually really like it with the steep incline of the rear windshield, or the rear window rather. I do love the aggressive kind of very defined lines that Toyota has given the RAV4. More of this plastic that I think we could make look a little bit better for what it is. It's not a cheap car, it's not a luxury car, but it is worthy of a little bit more in my opinion. Now, one thing I will dock this car for, it is just a pipe with a cover over it. That is always just insane to me. It can't cost that much more to actually make that an actual chrome tip pipe on the exhaust, but both sides have it. There's also one over here. Again, does not change anything about the car as far as performance maybe, but just aesthetics. Kind of looks nice from the side. You're like, wow, they did it. And then you realize, no, they didn't do it. Let's also talk safety features. Every single one of these RAV4s, no matter what trim you get, comes standard with Toyota's suite of safety features. Front crash mitigation, lane keep assist, all that sort of stuff is standard on these RAV4s. You can upgrade to other things like blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert, which this particular RAV4 does have. And it is great, especially around corners or maybe you're backing out of a building or an alleyway. The rear cross traffic alert is great. It works superb. It already has saved me a few times here in Pittsburgh when I was backing out of a few places and did not see cars coming. The car does see them coming and alerts you to it, which is great. And the camera built in right there, up underneath, barely noticeable unless you're looking for it. So overall, a lot of standard safety features, which are really great and almost necessary in 2023 for a brand new car. They've really updated this styling to really make it a rugged, handsome, small SUV. And it does kind of hold its own as far as cruising out on the open highway and hauling people and things. So underneath the hood of every single one of these 2023 Toyota RAV4s is a 4-cylinder engine, 2.5 liter, 203 horsepower, and obviously comes with front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive depending on what trim you choose and what option you choose. There also are 2 different all-wheel drive powertrains. One of them is actually able to disengage the rear axle to save and boost fuel economy, which is pretty cool. But where this thing really does shine for the size is the fuel economy. About 27 city, 33 highway, combined about 30 miles per gallon with this all-wheel drive on regular gasoline, which is not bad. Another thing I want to mention too is that as far as gas mileage, you don't sacrifice a whole lot of gas mileage whenever you do opt up to the all-wheel drive system. You only lose about 1 mile per gallon. Each one of these engines is mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission, which shifts smoothly. It does kind of come down as far as downshifting a little bit rougher than I anticipated. It does kind of jerk a little bit more than I think it should. Just be aware of the cranky noisiness when you hit the accelerator here on the RAV4. But overall, dependable engine. Toyotas are incredibly well made. Maintenance is not insane at all, and they last forever. The other weird thing, this engine closes with a stick that goes up on the hood. It's different. It's just a different way to do things. Okay, so let's get inside the RAV4 here. An all black interior pretty much with some nice chrome trim, or some faux chrome trim we'll call it. There are a lot of different things in here I want to highlight. Let's start with all the cubby space. A cubby here for all kinds of things. You can see the keys, sunglasses, money, my Easy Pass. This cubby hole is perfect to lay things on. I mentioned this when I was driving. There is also a shelf right here that spans the whole front of the passenger side of the dash, which is just more storage space, plus deep pockets over there. Deep cup holders, which again allows your drink to not topple over. Even if it's top heavy, the drink goes down deep and stays in place. A big plus, because I love to always have a drink when I'm out driving. Center armrest here for more storage. Of course, you've got some USB-C connections right there, and there is also a USB up here underneath. It's kind of dark, you can't really see it. Back to the cubby talk though. Another small cubby right here for maybe a change, or maybe a door opener for your garage or something else. Maybe your phone over here on the left. But cubby space galore here in the Toyota RAV4, and another deep pocket here on the driver door. I also love that they've built the RAV4 name and symbol right into the speaker system here on the car. Let's talk about the speaker system real quick. Right now, this is just the base model option. You can upgrade to the JBL premium sound system, which obviously sounds much better than the base model does. All of the cars, let's turn it on, have a 7-inch digital gauge cluster here for all of your instruments and all of your speedometer and mileage and everything you could ever want, all controlled by the scroll wheel here. Let's close the door so the car cooperates. All controlled by the arrows over here. So you can do things like look up your direction, do your music, your total trip distance, and all of your different safety features here, like I was mentioning earlier. Lane keep assist, forward collision mitigation, all sorts of stuff you can customize, turn on or off right here in your digital gauge cluster. Now, some of the higher trim models get an even larger 12-inch, 12-point-something inch digital gauge cluster. So the whole thing basically is all digital. Let's talk about the steering wheel here. This is not a leather wrap steering wheel. The higher trim levels, like the Premium, the Limited, the Adventure, the TRD Off-Road, the higher trim models do have the option for a leather steering wheel. This feels a little more plasticky than I would like it to feel, but is not feel chintzy at all either. I do appreciate this though. I hate when this section of a steering wheel is blocked off and I'm driving and I can't put my fingers in there or rest them there or grip it like this. So please, car companies, just leave this open for us so we can have one more place to rest our fingers. And you'll also notice in the RAV4 here, there are different driving modes. A lot of car companies do this now. This is not my favorite layup or setup in the whole world. This could be a scroll wheel like the Nissan Rogue has or the Mitsubishi Outlander. They obviously share those parts. These big buttons kind of look clunky to me, but you know, we'll take them. So Eco is what we're in right now. Yep. And then normal is kind of the way that it looked before. Sport is nice, gets all red for you. Snow, some little snowflakes up there in the corner, which, you know, how nice is that? Mud and sand does exactly what you think it does. It turns off traction control to get out of a stuck spot if you're in mud or sand. And then rock and dirt as well, and some nice graphics down there of rocks and dirt, just in case you forgot what each of them look like. Above those buttons, you do have the parking brake, along with the hold option if you're on a hill or something like that. That does come in handy. So let's talk about the climate control option right here, the climate control setup, rather. These are very, very typical of RAV4. Even the older models kind of had these big protruding buttons and different scroll wheels, but these feel very nice. They look maybe a bit clunky. I don't feel that they are clunky though. I think initially they look a little odd and very obstructive to your maybe view of everything else, but they're not. I actually like them quite a bit. They feel nice to the touch. They're very easy to maneuver when you're driving. You can obviously sync these up too to make sure they keep the same temperature on each side, but the auto climate control setup here I do like a lot. Buttons are easy to find. Fans are nice and strong. It's very easy to understand. You do have your automatic start and stop option here. I wish this came disengaged on every single car and only went on when you wanted it to. I hate that every car you have to turn it off when you get in. There's your traction control option as well. This is not real leather around the gear shifter here. I do believe if you opt up to the XLE Premium and above, you will get things like the leather wrap steering wheel and the leather right here on the gear shift knob, along with a larger screen. So this is an 8-inch screen. It comes standard on all of the RAV4s. I mentioned before, I don't love all the bezeling and the surrounding kind of black on the screen. It looks like it's just too much. They do save the larger screens for the higher trim models. If you do get a higher trim model, you do have an option for a 10.5-inch screen here. It's very, very easy to use. You've got wireless Apple CarPlay built right into the car here for you. And if I go back, I actually want to go to the Toyota setup here. There is the 4G LTE hotspot built in to this RAV4. And this is what the Toyota option looks like if you don't use Apple CarPlay and you just use what's built in to the car. Very easy to use, very responsive as far as the touchscreen goes. And I do wish it was a little bit angled toward the driver more. That way I could easily see it without any glare or having to come to the center of the car to see it or look at it whenever I'm driving. So while there is a lot of plastic in this car, as I mentioned when I was driving it out on the highway earlier, it does not feel cheap. There are some plastics that just feel cheap and they leave finger marks absolutely everywhere. This RAV4 does not feel that way. There's some faux leather right here on the door insert. And these windows, by the way, they're all 4 automatic up and down. They're not marked that way, but they actually are, which is great to have. But the plastic in the car, which is kind of everywhere, it's soft to the touch and it's higher quality plastic, if you want to call it that. There is such a thing, right? I'm sure there is. There is a lot of decent materials in here. All of the vents, by the way, are great. They're in great locations. They blow very strong. I've only got it on 3 right now, and I can feel this full force blowing on my face as I sit here. Another thing let's talk about are the seats. They're cushiony and soft. This particular car just has cloth seats. The higher models, again, do have an option for, I believe it is faux leather. I don't think it's actual leather seats, but you can get that as an option. They're squishy here, and this particular one I think is this is a manual seat. So on the XLE, which is what this car is, only the driver's seat actually has the different power options. You do also have lumbar support, which is nice to have. The only complaint about these seats, I wish this had more thigh support. On the highway after 4 hours of driving, I really noticed that my legs were hanging off of the seat much more than I'm used to, and I wish there was more thigh support on these seats. They just feel short by half an inch or an inch maybe. I wish they were a little bit longer and supported your thighs a little bit more. The visors, by the way, are great quality. They don't feel chintzy. There's a light that comes on whenever you open it up, and they feel great to the touch. They do detach like normal and have a sun extender or sun block extender built right in, which is obviously a plus as well. So the front of this car is a really nice place to be. I can't say that I'm blown away by it, but I'm also not repulsed by it at all either. The points that you touch all the time feel good, feel solid, they feel like a Toyota, and they feel like a practical, affordable, efficient SUV, which is what this thing is all about. Let's get in the back now and check out the seats and the cargo space. So here in the back, room for 3 people, and I think 3 adults could comfortably fit back here. I'm not sure a long trip would be all that fun with 3 adults back here, but 3 children, absolutely. Again, the same design as the front seat. As far as the back here, very soft and cushiony. No rear seat back pocket on the driver's seat. You do have one over here, which feels very flimsy. I do wish that these were easier to put things into. It just feels not great and feels like if you pull too hard you might knock it off or break it. The center here, you do have an armrest which comes down with 2 cup holders in it. This feels a little flimsy and chintzy. To be totally frank, this car only has about 4,500 miles on it. This feels like it's been used a ton by kids, up and down, up and down, up and down. But nice rear legroom here. There are 2 USB-C ports back here as well for rear passengers and their own controls. All you can really do though is move it up and down and close it off entirely. Not all that customizable, but better than nothing here in the back seat. And as far as the door thud, let's see what it sounds like. Solid. Automatic up and down window here, very easy to use. Goes the whole way down, by the way. Not that nonsense where it stays about half a foot up. Simple. With these seats, when they go down, let's do that. Very easy. Pull up on the lever, pull down on both sides. Lots of room back here. Let's talk about the cargo space with these seats down. Now, with these seats down in the back of this thing, you have 69.8 cubic feet of space with these seats down. With these seats up behind the second row, you have about 37 cubic feet of space. I have a few things back here right now. Let's put down this other seat so you can see what it looks like with all of the space available. And they do go nearly flat. I don't know what percent you would call this. They're not totally flat, but they're not a 60-40 split either. So almost 70 cubic feet of space in the back of this RAV4 with all the seats down, which is just a lot of space. 37 cubic feet of space behind the second row with those seats up. And here is what that looks like. 37 cubic feet of space. You obviously do have some space down below here as well to put things in the floor. Spare tire underneath here. You do have a few pockets over here for different items if you'd like. Not a ton of room as far as little storage cubbies like there is in the front for the people portion of the car. There is a cargo cover here that I took off because I'm putting something large in the back of this vehicle in a few moments. Whenever you upgrade the trim level, by the way, too, you do get an automatic power lift gate. This one does not have the button, so I have to manually close this. But as far as cargo space, I can't complain. All right, well, that is it for this review of this 2023 Toyota RAV4 XLE all-wheel drive. I hope you learned something. I hope I gave you some insight into one of Toyota's best-selling models and one of America's best-selling SUVs. This thing really is the all-around package. Affordable, economical, efficient, practical as well. Everyday utility with a little bit of off-road utility if you keep that subtle and don't go too insane. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit this with a big like and subscribe and comment below. Let me know your thoughts, and we'll see you on the next one.